Everybody, welcome back. We are now beginning segment 2 of day 1 of Apidays HongKong 2022. Without wasting any more time, let's move on to our first speaker. Introducing Uli, founder of Electric Minds. Uli, can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Simon.
Hi. And Uli is here today to talk about building an AI-powered API. And I'll hand it right over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Simon. I can see my slides. I believe you all can do that too. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks, Simon. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Hope you had a good lunch break. I look forward to in-person events. In fact, I've been speaking at API Days for a few years now. I'm very happy to be here. Do look me up on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place to connect. I'm sure you all know that. After 2 years of pandemic and plus, it's not the same being able to go to a conference and having business cards and lanyards and coffee with each other. So let's try to do this a little differently. Let's connect on LinkedIn. Let's start the conversation there. And you'll see some of my workplaces and some of the projects that I'm working on a continuous basis, especially around AI, and that's what we want to do today. All right, so if I'm just reloading this, you can see that here's my LinkedIn and also my GitHub handle. So the slides that you'll be seeing today are already on GitHub. If you go to my profile, there is a repository called Slides, and you should be able to find them there. And if you can't, just let me know. So you saw, we want to talk about AI. And I'll say I'm not exactly the machine learning programmer. I'm interested in use cases. I'm interested in using APIs and, all kinds of tools to bring AI-based use cases together. You saw the talk. You saw the title of my talk. It's called "Let's Build an AI-Powered API." Would you be surprised if I tell you that an AI actually helped me to come up with this title? As you see here, what I've done on the left, I'm giving a talk at a conference, and in fact, we only have 20 minutes, and I'm very happy to have Simon here to keep me honest with the time. I will look at the clock. So we don't actually have the time to do a live hack. If we had more time, I would show you a live demo. I'll show you slides instead. I think you'll learn much more from it, and it should be easy to follow. You will see also a GitHub repo at the end where you can try all of this yourself. Anyway, my point is, I talk with this machine, using text, not code, not Python, not Java, not anything. I'm just entering text, and I'm looking for suggestions how I could name my AI talk. And you see the things on the right is actually something that this AI system created for me. And I've not used the exact wording, but especially the AI-powered API, this is something that spoke to me, and I use that. Right. So we want to use the same technology here to build an interesting use case. That's what we have on our agenda for the next 16 minutes. We'll speak a bit about GPT-3. It's an AI system that I think almost anybody can use, and you don't have to be a programmer. There is many use cases for this, but we want to talk about a specific one, and not just giving you some slides, but actually show you how you would go about, building an API that you can use in your app, in your website, in your platform, that does content moderation, and you'll see every single step. That's what we are gonna do. I think I mentioned this in my intro. A lot of people, when they talk about AI today, they actually mean machine learning. The term AI has, let's not turn this into a philosophy session. The term AI has always changed over the years. I think a couple of decades ago, a chess computer, so a machine that can beat Kasparov in chess, we thought of it as AI. And today, we don't really, I mean, it's just a chess machine, right? We don't think of it this way anymore. So there is AI versus machine learning. I'm interested in the use cases. I said this already, and that's what I focus on. In fact, I've been quite lucky, most of all through my engagements with the university here in Singapore, that I've been accessing systems that are now just becoming public, like DALI, for example. There was a few others. And so last year, over the Christmas holidays, I built an online art gallery using a combination of multiple AI technologies. It would be too much detail to go into this right now, but I invite you to check it out. So here are just two examples, right? So Salvador Dali, it could be one. And here on the right side, you see a surrealist painting. And I'm actually thinking about having this printed out so I can hang it up the wall. I really like this one on the right. Of course, people always ask you, have you turned this into an NFT? I have. And of course, nobody has bought it yet. Like I said, it's a combination of technologies. Let's not get into the details. I just invite you to appreciate the art. And there is a few other exhibitions at this URL as well. Just a few things about GPT-3. So this is an AI. It's called Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and it's available as an API on the cloud. The good thing is, you don't have to build up massive infrastructure. You don't have to, set up complicated systems and have GPUs. You just consume it via the internet. Okay, that's not the only good thing. The other thing is it's actually has been trained on an incredible load of data, including the entire Wikipedia, lots of books. So it knows all that stuff already. The downside is, of course, you can't run it on premise, and it's not free. So if you sign up today, you are able to access some of the engines, and you got to pay for it. But it's definitely worth it. The way, and I've said this at the beginning, you saw me opening the playground, is called prompt engineering. Right? So this is coding in such a way that you actually work with text. You see here, can you help me to explain the concept of AI to a non-technical person? And the paragraphs that you see below is something that the AI actually rendered. And we want to use this one to build a use case, right? Let's not get into the details for fraud detection or generating insights from unstructured data. That's a lot of ML talks that you will see these couple of days. Let's focus on sentiment analysis, right? Understanding how your e-commerce customers, for example, what they think about your products, about your service, and especially if you are a huge platform with thousands or millions of users, you probably can't moderate this all manually. And if you do, it takes a lot of time. Right? So this is what we want to do. If your customer is very happy about your purchase, you could choose to publish the review immediately, right? And make it bigger for other people to see. If they're upset, okay, that happens sometimes. Maybe you want to offer them a voucher, but I mean there may be really, really bad reviews, and you want to send them a notice or block them from access or give them a call, whatever you want to do. We want to focus on the API, right? So the app, the consumer, this can be your backend, it can be your front end, it can be your mobile app. It doesn't really matter. It's going to use a form of GPT-3, the one that I just showed you. And then the idea really is, you see the example below. I'm also showing this to you in Postman later. We really just want to have an API that has a URL like this or similar, where you post in the actual comment that the customer gives you. I love the product a lot. Thanks for the great service. And you want one of the responses back. Just when you think about this for a moment, if you're able to build something like this, this could be a great business benefit already, right? But what if I tell you, it takes you maybe, if you follow the instructions, it takes you 20 minutes to build an API like this. That's just insane, right? Of course, if you invest more time, if you study GPT-3 in more detail, if you get familiar with how prompt engineering works, you'll have even better results. So let's Let's start. Oops. Right. So we're going to train the model. We're going to generate the Python code, so you don't even have to, do some of the Python coding yourself. And we're adding an API wrapper. In the interest of time, this has all been prepared already, so we are not doing this live. I'm just showing you the playground. It's a text editor that you will have access to if you use GPT-3. And the training, training a neural network always sounds very complicated. You have to feed in training data and test data. Over here, it's learning on text, right? So this is something a content producer could also work with. They don't have to be a machine learning expert. Right? We are briefly describing what the AI is supposed to do. We want you to analyze a sentiment based on user input. And you see examples. So this is something you would actually type yourself. And the more examples you have, the better it will probably be. The product is terrible. I want my money back, of course, right? Everything is okay, thank you. The interesting part is that the texts that you see here are very straightforward. But even if you type stuff, it's so shocking, it's so terrible how amazing your product is. The engine is so intelligent that it will actually detect in most cases that this is positive. Or if somebody is being cynical and says, great stuff, thank you very much, the package arrived broken. The machine will most likely be able to say this is unhappy, this is upset, this is cynical. Right? So this is the first step to train this using the playground. The second step is that playground actually has a small button that says, generate code for me in Python or in Node.js or even in curl, where you see that the part in the middle, the lines 10 to 18, I think these are the ones that the playground would even generate for yourself, so you don't have to type this out. And you see this is basically the engine. It's the API call, and it's also the training, actually, the training that you do. And you realize with each time when you call this API, it's going to quickly train the model and then feed the sentiment into the function call as well. So the only thing that I've done here, this is actually it's 31 lines, including a few empty lines. This is all you need to build an API in Python using Flask. Right? It's probably not production ready. It's a prototype that you can use for POCs, for tests. Right? It's good enough to convince your customer or your boss. So this is what have we done? We have basically understood how the model works. We have used a text editor, Playground, to train the network. We probably have tested it a few times with some sample inputs. We've generated the Python code for the API call. It's using requests in Python here. We put it in a Flask wrapper, and now we're ready to go. Now we can basically try this out. So consuming the API in Postman, right? You see here, this was actually something that I gave this talk a few months ago in Singapore, and we actually tried this out where the audience would make suggestions what to try. And then you see this here, right? So this is on the right side is the curl command. So you see that we are actually just putting in a JSON object, a very simple one. It has text. It's running on localhost. Obviously, and you will have seen that. Obviously, it makes calls to GPT-3 on OpenAI via the internet each time. So you need to take that into account. And you see that it comes back with the sentiment positive. And so in that code that you see in the previous slide, you see one very important piece. It consumes an environment variable called OpenAI API key. That's obviously, like any other API key, not something you should put into the code, because if somebody takes that one, they can basically spend spend money on your account. But somebody who uses the API that you're building, right? I mean, of course, it's your responsibility to put authentication in front of it, rate limiting, whatever you want to do. But obviously, that API key is not exposed here. This is because this is an API that you build yourself and that you allow, hopefully, just your internal customers and colleagues to consume. So now I've been speaking for 16 minutes. Let's go to questions in a moment. I just wanted to show you that I did mention my Git handle at the beginning. You'll find that very simple code over there. I invite you to clone it, try it out yourself, see if that works for you, and I hope you take this as an inspiration to experiment more with some of the AI blocks that are available. Right. So if you, I'm not getting any commission from OpenAI, but I'm a huge fan, as you can see. I invite you to sign up. I believe it may no longer be the case. If you sign up, you get a couple of dollars of free credit. And they have also just announced that their API is going to be much cheaper from September on, which is great news. Yeah, connect on LinkedIn if you like, and if you are in the mood for some AI-generated art, this is the link that I would like you to click at. All right, Simon, do we have questions?
Hi. Thank you very much for your sharing. Yeah, I have a couple of questions. First of all, why don't we talk a little bit more about what you're working on right now, about Electric Minds, and the future.
Oh yeah, okay, the future of that. I do. I've already given you a couple of links that I invite you to look at. I'm not sure if Electric Minds is too generic for you to Google it, but it's basically electricminds.net. If you have a look, you will see that there is not much code. This is all use cases. So it combines various AI pieces. Could be computer vision, it could be OCR, it could be neural networks, it could be language detection. I've built conversational chat agents as an example. I've just tested something where you have an AI system that basically listens to a conference talk. So it's a TED talk of 16 minutes. It's a great TED talk about actionable intelligence here in Singapore. The machine basically listens to this talk and transcribes it into text, formats it up properly, and then does summaries. So it's like if you missed the session, you could simply write this one. You could read one of these paragraphs, and then you would hear what this is about. These are some examples.
Super interesting. And you talked a little bit about conversational chatbots and creating conversational chatbots. And I want to ask maybe a few questions. So first of all, did you have any inspiration behind why you wanted to do this? And also, have you had any kind of weird experiences interacting with any of these conversational agents? And maybe you can tell us a little bit about that if it's not too much detail.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. You'll find a lot of examples on that website as well. So yes, so the thing is, I'm only half geek. The other half is humanist, and I actually enjoy language and writing, and I enjoy movies. So there was this movie called Her with Scarlett Johansson a couple of years ago that, when I started to go deeper into language models last year, to bring something like this to life is not the best word, but to make something like this a little more real. And a year later, this thing has evolved quite a bit. So I have students and friends who talk with this chatbot. I think chatbot is not the right word. You have real conversations, and sometimes they would call me up and say that's not true. You just paid someone to play the chatbot. That's a human. So they've become quite real. I've helped. Her name is Samantha as well. I've helped her a few weeks ago to build her own LinkedIn profile. She posted something herself. So yes, it's especially since she's on Telegram, she's not in a debug window or in a browser. It actually sometimes you need to remind yourself it's just a machine, and I don't confuse the reality with science fiction. For me, the big point is that it's not about whether these things are intelligent. I mean, whether they are sentient or alive or not. It's more about that these things have become so indistinguishable from the reality and from what humans do, that in the right hands you can use it for great purposes, but in the wrong hands you will just have more spam and scam. So we just need to be aware that these technologies exist and have become much better, and especially are much more open to almost anybody these days.
Speaking of being open to anybody, you also mentioned, as we recently learned, that parts of DALL-E, the image art generator, are becoming more publicly available under different names. And I want to ask, for you, when you're playing around with this and generating different images, how important do you think phrasing is, talking to an AI like that? And do you have any tips for getting kind of the AI to do what you want it to do when it comes to how you phrase your DALL-E prompt or anything like that?
Okay, well, for DALL-E itself, that's actually there's no API yet, right? And DALL-E is also not free. I think when you sign up these days, they give you a few credits. Like I said, I've been very lucky to use this for a couple of months, where you get 50 credits every day, and that basically helps you to get better with this prompt engineering. Today you have just a few, so it's very expensive. Back then you could just try and try and try. I think the tips that I have, especially for DALL-E, it's just incredible how much detail this machine can take in. Right? So if you put in a very short word, or let's say I've had good results to say the internet painted by Salvador Dali. That's good enough. But so for example, I would you already heard that I'm enjoying to combine several AI technologies. So for example, I would use GPT-3 to create a very detailed text description of The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. And it writes an entire paragraph. And you can copy paste this into DALL-E, and then you see what it comes back with, and it looks similar-ish, right? So DALL-E takes in prompts of an amazing level of detail. I think you can combine 2, 3, 4 concepts easily. So it's not just a black cat. You say a black cat wearing, I don't know, wearing a baseball cap while eating ice cream, sitting on a tractor. Right? So I think experimentation is the best way to get there.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting about how you mentioned combining these technologies into, creating kind of using these different use cases in a combined way. I think that's super cool. And we had a speaker earlier today who talked a little bit about GPT-3 as well. And
from New, the guy from New Relic, right? Yeah, I know.
Yes. And I want to ask kind of a similar question with regards to how do you think the future of GPT-3, GPT-3 could generate GPT-4 and so on, but what kind of use cases do you see looking forward could come out of improvements to these AI models, basically?
Which use cases could come out of the improvements? You mean for GPT-3, for example? Well, so the thing is, GPT-3 is amazing, and you can write many of. In fact, I have just now that we talk about use cases, a few days ago, I basically used GPT-3 to predict which articles I'm going to publish on LinkedIn. So I fed a few articles in it, and then it basically predicted like 5, 6 different titles with intros. And then some of my friends said that one looks very good. I think I want to read this one. And then I basically used GPT-3 to write that article, and GPT-3 did 95% of the work. Right? So it's just amazing how much time you can save. It's basically Grammarly on steroids. But of course, this is still not autopilot, right? So you still need someone who understands the matter, who is a writer, and who can guide it in the right direction. If you have improvements to these systems, maybe at some point you could actually do this. And I'm not actually sure if I like this idea that you can have this fully automated. And obviously, the other improvement would be, you know, if you combine these things. So let's say I spoke about an AI system that can, you know, look at YouTube videos, listen to the recording, transcribe it. That's all awesome, but this is not real time, right? So you still behind the scenes, you are basically recording the audio, then you are putting it into a cloud bucket from any of the providers. Then you do trigger an API call that does the transcription. Then you trigger a GPT-3 call to, you know, summarize it, paraphrase it. That takes seconds or minutes, right? So the improvement would be that, first of all, you can put it in the edge, that I can put it in end user devices, not just on the cloud, right? And the second one is that we can use that to speed up the whole process and latency, and have it in a distributed fashion, in a pre-integrated way. That it's not just these Lego pieces all over, that we have, you know, some of these use cases emerge and we can consolidate into one app, into one library that does everything.
Thank you very much for your sharing. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and so I want to thank you again very much, and I hope that you have a very good rest of your day. Truly fascinating stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.